Hail and well met, Loremasters! While I'm still hammering out the kinks in some longer videos, I thought I'd pad out the time with a mini-series on the lore behind the Chinese zodiac animals, which I'm sure won't go down any insane and long-winded rabbit holes. Right? Right? Let us begin with the lowly snake, soft and soothing. Why? Well, it's the year of the nope rope, innit? Don't you worry, I'll put them all back in the orthodox order once I do the 1 hour long compilation video. Coming soon to a streaming service near you. So, let's begin. There are many words for snake in Chinese, but today we'll be looking at the most mainstream one, starting with its entry in the 说文解字. 脱回 snake, an adder, and I can already hear folks typing their remarks that that's not how either of those words are pronounced. Your forbearance I beseech, mild and mellow onlooker. I will get to this in good time. Both 脱 and 回 mean snake, wherefore Xu Shen uses one to gloss the other. Nerd note! The word 回 was of old the word for attery or baneful danger noodles, like the pit viper. The word for bug or worm, 虫, is from 回 threefold. However, even before the age of the Han, writers would play fast and loose with these two characters, often switching out 虫 for the easier to write 回, not least when it was used as a component. A goodbye spell is 容, where 虫 gives the reading, but even the earliest forms only show 2 snakes, never 3. In the end, to stave off unneeded and unwanted bewilderment, the phonetic wu was tacked onto 回, giving us today's form. 从回而长, 向冤屈垂尾行. From 回, which is a drawing of a snake, but longer, showing its twisting form with a drooping tail. Xu Shen seems to be of the meaning that instead of being sundry drawings, 脱 is an offshoot from 回. We'll see how well that holds up when we get to the script lore. 上古草居浣脱, 故相问无脱乎. In the olden days, when man dwelt in straw huts, they were oft beset by snakes, and so when they met would ask each other, no snakes? This line tells us the lore behind an old Chinese greeting, 无脱. This saying took on an idiomatic meaning and became the ancient Chinese way of saying, yeah right, when you met someone. 脱或从回. 脱 is also written with 回tacked on, which is the modern standard shape. The Duan commentary considers this to be a folksy, that is, wrong, way of writing the character. 脱和切, 今俗作使遮切. As we can see here, the reading is 脱, but a Tang-era writer bemarks that in his time the everyday and lowbrow reading was not the same, being ziai in Middle Chinese, which became 舌 in Mandarin. We'll go over this oddity in the word lore, but as is my wont, I wanna go over the writing lore first. Ere the age of the Han, there was a lot of overlap between what would in the end become the 3 characters ye, tuo, and hui. Oftentimes, it is the overall context rather than the shape of the glyph that shows how a character ought to be read at any one time. That said, the shape seen on oracle bone writings from the age of the Shang that would later become tuo clearly shows the winding likeness of a snake. We see the head at the top, sometimes with the eyes and tongue as well, with a long, thick and often scaly body, some being more cursed than others. Putting tuo and hui side by side, the main unlikeness the twain between be that tuo is a hefty and healthy lad, he's on the protein, you know? While hui is a skinny noodle boy, a very slim Mr. Slinky indeed. One thing that sticks out to me is that the seal writing form of tuo is often said to show a hooded snake, like a cobra. But this hood is nowhere to be seen in the oracle bone carvings. When we get to the bronzeware carvings, the shape is already more foggy, though the overall snakiness lingers and is no less chonk to my gladness. Here we see that the hood in the seal script is in truth the head of the nope rope, with its boopable snoot or tongue made all the more outstanding. By the Warring States, the character Tor that shows up in the true bamboo slips look kinda like a stylized Mandalorian crest. No? Am I the only one seeing it? In any sake, we now start to see the shadow of today's form taking shape. The Qin era form looks much alike both to the seal version found in Shoven and the true bamboo slip versions. Not quite as blocky as the seal, but soothingly more straight-edged than the true forms. We also see the earliest happening of Tor with a Hui radical tacked on show up on the Qin scrolls. This sundriness keeps on in the age of the Han and onward. In the clerical hand found in the Ma Wangdui tombs, the character snake looks much alike to the Qin form. However, another form is seen on the Zhang Shou standing stone, also from the age of the Han. Here, Tor is written like Ye, with a very boxy Hui radical to the side. This sundriness is also seen in the normal hand. For once, Mr. Yan Zhenqing is not trying to raise my blood pressure across space and time, but Mr. Ouyang Tong makes my eye twitch by also writing Tor as Ye. And then there's this offshoot with one more stroke out of the blue on top of Hui. Why? Who knows? My guess is that it is swayed by another character for worm, Yu, which has the same stroke on top. In the running hand, all three ways of writing can be seen, so, if you want to play fast and loose with Chinese characters, go ahead, you'll be in good fellowship. I think I'll be wielding the form with Ye more often myself. It lends itself well to swift writing, although it may be mistaken for D, Earth. But that is an offering I am willing to make. The grass hand form looks a lot like two Ye beside each other, with an extra stroke over the tail of the other one, or perhaps like someone's initials, PE. Either way, they're good squiggles. Alright, I'm done gushing on about Chinese longhand now. Let's get to the word lore. The earliest wellspring for the word Tor/Shur is still unknown. Lawrence Sagart, in 2005, draws a line to Proto-Lololish lei, Python, which the STEDT, that is the Sino-Tibetan Etymological Dictionary and Thesaurus, thank you very much, derives from Proto-Sino-Tibetan gliang or gliak. However, Axel Schussler, in 2007, thinks a more likely kinship is with Austroasiatic, and that Tor, the winding thing, is a gilded word said instead of the shared Sino-Tibetan word for snake, which is Hui, or in Baxter and Sagert's Old Chinese reconstruction, Ruj, which would have been shunned so as not to bring on bad luck by speaking the name of a threatening being. Yep, I don't see it either. Look at that snoot. Does that snoot look unlucky to you? Lastly, Zhengzhang Shangfang, writing in 2011, thinks the word might be akin to Proto-Austronesian sular. Whatever the root form outside of Chinese might be, Baxter and Sagert unused the Old Chinese reading as alai, the big C at the start there standing for an unknown consonant, which is why I didn't really pronounce it. This in turn became Middle Chinese, ta, but also the lowbrow reading Xiai. My guess is that this reading also arose in order to shy away from having to say Tor snake out loud. Nerd note! By the way, this shunning has lasted up till this day, as snake is sometimes called Xiaolong, little dragon, in Mandarin Chinese. And if you speak a non-Mandarin Chinese language, let me know in the comments what the taboo avoidance word for nope rope is in your language. By this time, the two ways of writing Tor had already settled into two sundry roles. The older and easier form had been phonetically borrowed to write the word other and the everyday third-person pronoun he, she, it, ta in Middle Chinese, and the later form with Hui was instead wielded to write snake and read as Xiai. Up till now, I've been reading this character as Tor for the whole show, and this is how it ought to be read if the loud change was steady. But spoken tongues are bewildering and irksome, and are wont to twist and turn in unforeseen ways, like a snake. And so almost all Chinese tongues instead uphold the Middle Chinese reading ta for the meaning other and he, she, it. In the same vein, all Chinese languages read snake in some offshoot of the Middle Chinese lowbrow reading zai, which became sure in Mandarin, se in Cantonese, jua in Chaozhou, and so on. The offsprings in other tongues also has this reading, sa in Korean and sa in Vietnamese. Japanese, on the other hand, has two readings, jia and da, keeping both the Middle Chinese readings. That's the first zodiac animal over and done with. Delving into this topic has already given me enough stuff for one or two other shows down the line, but I'll try to finish the series before the ADHD goblin living in my head can run away with me. Next up is Ma, horse. And if you for some sake like these awful shows and want to help me in my work, leave a like and comment below, subscribe if you're new, and join the Chinese Merchant Guild like these lovely people have by supporting me on Patreon. You're all truly wonderful. Until next time, Loremasters.